레벨 디자인 기초 세미나를 하게 된 20기 차은웅이라고 합니다. 먼저 세미나에 들어가기 앞서서 제가 지금 긴장을 굉장히 많이 했기 때문에
첫 세미나.
막 아무 말이나 나올 수 있어요. 그러니까 만약에 세미나를 듣다가 이게 대체 무슨 개소리인지 못 알아들으면은
이거 좀 배워가지고 이거 완전 용역고 바뀐 거야.
요형은 피곤하기 때문에 그런 거죠. 저는 긴장을 많이 했기 때문에.
그럼 자기 나름대로 이견이 있잖아요.
그러니까 중간에 못 알아듣는 얘기가 있으면 바로바로 질문을 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 물론 세미나 마지막에도 Q&A 시간이 있으니까 그때 질문해도
발표 중간에 했잖아요.
네, 그렇습니다.
오.
그러면은 먼저 복차를 보면 네, 이렇게 레벨 디자인이 무엇인지 먼저 기념부터 잡고 그 다음에 우리가 지금 레벨 디자인을 왜 지금 세미나를 하고 있는가 중요성에 대해서 알고 그 다음에 레벨 디자인 예시를 간단하게 아주 간단하게 몇 가지만 들고 발표를 세미나를 마치려고 합니다. 오늘 세미나의 목적은 신입생 여러분이 레벨 디자인이 무엇인지 개념을 잡는 거에 집중되어 있기 때문에 아주 가벼운 마음으로 들으셔도 괜찮을 거라고 생각합니다. 먼저 레벨 디자인에서 레벨이라고 하는 게 대체 뭘까요? 한번 자신이 생각하는 레벨이 뭔지 말해보시겠습니까?
찍어요, 말합니다. 난 찍어요.
나이
한 명은 찔러야 찔러도 안 나와.
많이 돌아오고
다른 단계요? 네, 생각보다 정답에 많이 근접하게 대답을 하셨는데 저는 사실 이런 대답을 생각했어요. 캐릭터 레벨 이런 거 아니냐. 근데 여기서 이 레벨 디자인에서 말하는 레벨은 이런 레벨이 아니라 아까 말해주셨던 단계나 난이도 이런 거랑 밀접한 연관이 있지만 엄연하게 틀립니다. 여기서 레벨 디자인에서 말하는 레벨의 기원은 게임 개발 초기에 개발자들이 게임의 스테이지를 난이도나 그 컨셉 등에 따라서 레벨이라는 단위로 스테이지를 나누었기 때문에 지금 레벨 디자인에 쓰이는 그 레벨이라는 말이 그 레벨 즉 스테이지라고 볼 수 있습니다. 그러니까 이 스테이지 즉 레벨을 디자인하는 레벨 디자인은 스테이지라는 레벨 즉 게임의 공간을 디자인하는 거라고 간단하게 말할 수 있겠습니다. 여기서 공간을 디자인한다는 게 약간 두루뭉실해가지고 잘 이해가 안 갈 수 있는데 그래서 몇 가지 아주 일부분이지만 레벨 디자인의 몇 가지 예를 들어보겠습니다. 먼저 이러한 레벨 크기를 설정하고 여기 레벨 보시면은 뭐 마을이라든지 길이라든지 이렇게 있죠. 이렇게 마을 등의 요소들을 적절하게 배치하고 여기다가 뭐 NPC, 함정, 뭐 몬스터 이렇게 여러 가지 유저들이 접할 수 있는 요소들을 맵에다가 배치하는 게 레벨 디자인에서 주로 하는 일이라고 할 수 있겠습니다. 그러면은 왜 이렇게 요소를 배치하는 것을 굳이 레벨 디자인이라고 다시 따로 분리해가지고 레벨을 하는가? 그 이유는 맵에다가 요소들을 배치하는 것은 플레이어가 게임을 플레이하는 도중에 만나는 것들을 설계하는 것입니다. 그 플레이어가 만나는 것들에 의해서 플레이어가 경험을 하기 때문에 즉 이렇게 요소들을 설계하는 것은 플레이어의 경험을 설계한다는 것과 상승한다고 볼 수 있겠습니다. 제가 방금 제대로 설명했나요? 이해 안 가시는 거 있나요? 네, 그러면 뭐 지금 좀 애매하다 싶으면 다음에 또 나중에 질문하셔도 돼요. 일단 플레이어의 경험을 설계한다는 것에 대해서 좀 더 저보다 훨씬 잘 설명할 수 있는 동영상이 돼요. 이걸 한번 보고 가겠습니다.
소리가 점점.
Hey there, welcome to Design Club. So let's get down to business. Today, we have decided to start at the beginning. When it comes to modern gaming, things really don't get much more beginning than Super Mario Brothers Level 1-1. Level 1-1 is an incredible amount of thought and care went into modulating the player experience and interacting the learning curve, even the first few tools. Given the tight limits on resources for an 8-bit game, a lot of clever decisions had to be made to make this game appeal to a generation completely unfamiliar with games. Of all the 8-bit greats, Super Mario Bros. Has some of the best examples of well-used affordances and well-designed learning curves, and it does it all without blocks of text or requiring people to actually read the manual. So let's take a look at the opening screen. Mario starts facing right with a ton of negative space in front of him. Nothing's moving, nothing's apparently threatening. This static screen gives the player some time to mess around with the controls and get used to them. The way Mario starts also informs the player where they'll be going for the entirety of the game, going right. Just looking at the screen shows you the wide open path. Despite the fact that Mario spends most of his time in the center of the screen, the designers made a deliberate choice to start Mario elsewhere. This affordance through the use of space does a mountain of work that games today spend lengthy cutscenes on. The player never feels lost in purpose, and they know how to begin without even needing to be told what the goal is. Just move right. So, along Mario's wayward journey to the right, the first thing we see is a question mark, bright and flashing so we can't miss it. It invites exploration without being threatening. You can approach it at your own pace. So you do, but just as you get close, something else appears. Our first enemy slides on screen. How does the player know it's an enemy? Well, two reasons. One, the sprite itself has some distinctly angry eyebrows. Two, the Goomba, unlike the object you've already encountered, is moving right towards you. Imagine if the Goomba was stationary, not nearly as threatening. Your first encounter with the Goomba ensures that you've learned a major skill before proceeding. You cannot get past this spot without jumping. Given that the NES controller had 4 non-directional buttons to explore, and as a designer, we already know the player's already used the directionals, it was totally reasonable to expect the player to experiment with them, without the need for explicit instruction. And if the player dies, nothing big is lost. The player is just sent back a very short distance and asked to try again. Short iteration cycles are your friend. Immediately after the first enemy comes the first encounter with the power-up system. The player, being intrigued by the question mark and all the flashing, usually hits this question block, releasing a mushroom. The mushroom does a few interesting things. First, it moves right, usually following the player. This gives the player plenty of time to watch this sequence and learn how it moves. Second, it moves above the player and then drops down. This teaches the player about how other objects are affected by gravity, unlike the block it originally came from. As an extension, it bounces off the green pipe, showing how mushrooms interact with other solid objects, while virtually ensuring that the player will get it. Even if the player decides that, based on what they've experienced so far, that mushroom-shaped objects are generally bad and tries to jump over it, the natural path to try and jump over the mushroom puts the player on a direct collision course with the blocks above Mario. The angle at which the player would use to jump over it causes them to be knocked right down into the mushroom. While still allowing the player complete autonomy, the clever designers at Nintendo managed to induce the player to touch a mushroom that, at first blush, seemed like a dangerous enemy. The next terrifying obstacle the player has to overcome is a set of pipes of increasing heights. The increasing height of the pipes requires the player to learn a slightly unintuitive mechanic. Mario's jump height is related to how long the player holds the jump button. Again, the player cannot advance until they learn this mechanic. But these pipes have way more to teach. The movement patterns of the Goombas and how they interact with each other are revealed below the pipes. And once the player fails to clear the jump, they're in the pit of the 2 Goombas, where it's possible they'll learn that you receive bonus points for stomping multiple enemies. More importantly, these pipes give you a safe space to practice the pit jumping the player will do later. They mirror challenges that Miyamoto plans to present the player with down the line, but here he makes sure to have basic facility with the skill before really presenting it in a threatening way. Lastly, we have the final pipe and the first pit, where the designers put the game's first 2 secrets. The last pipe in the row allows the player to enter a secret room full of coins, and really this is for old fans of the game. It's for veteran players to be able to get through the level more quickly and back to a place that challenges them, so it doesn't have much impact on the new player experience. The invisible block before the first hit is another story though. While 95% of new players will never see it, it's placed in such a way that if you're really going to miss your jump, if you're really going to jump early and dive right into that pit, you'll find a secret instead. And with that, we will wrap up this week. There's a lot going on here, and that's just the first 30 seconds. Try breaking down the rest of level 1-1 as an exercise for yourself. Why are these two pyramid-like objects here? What's the purpose of these 4 Goombas right in a row? If you haven't played through at least the first few levels of Super Mario Bros., you definitely should make the time. It's also worth a quick trip down memory lane even if you haven't played it, and you will see it so much differently looking at it now as a designer, rather than simply playing it like your first time through. You'll be surprised how much fundamental game design knowledge displayed here is still used today. We gotta get going, but let us know what you think of the show in the comments.